They bullied him for having the worst skill, but actually, his skill is overpowered and can give him any S-rank skill for free. After the Big Bang, the world was shapeless and empty until the goddess shed light on it. She then created a continent of 9 races consisting of the Dragonutes, Elves, Onifolk, Dwarves, Demonkin, Darl Elves, Centaurs, Beastfolk, and humans. 10 centuries later, Light is born. He soon grows old enough to try out and become an adventurer. He says goodbye to his family and starts his journey alone. He promises to make it big as an adventurer and take his family out of poverty. He travels to the big city but gets lost. He tries to ask for directions, but a beastfolk scolds him for interacting with him because he is a lesser species. Light apologizes and manages to find his way to a guild. The receptionist realizes it's his first time in the guild, so she welcomes him. She asks him if he has any gifts, and Light reveals he has the skill of unlimited gacha. The receptionist asks him for a demonstration, so Light rolls his gacha and summons a card. He releases the card and it summons a useless fork. He quickly explains that his demonstration is just one example of his powers. He summons other cards to try to correct the receptionist's impression of his power, but he only manages to summon other useless items. The receptionist registers him as an F-rank adventurer and hands him his card. Light asks her if there are any jobs he can take right away, and the receptionist directs him to the bulletin board with job requests. Light isn't so eager to approach the board, and the receptionist figures out that he can't read. She decides to read out the easy jobs that are available. She explains that the pay is low, but Light accepts the job gladly. He begins gathering wood and hauling soil to complete the tasks. After a day's work, Light gets paid, but he's not impressed with his income because it is barely enough to get him a room in the city. Light bumps into some beastfolk, and they take his income to compensate for the inconvenience he caused them. Light begs for his money back because he won't find lodgings without it. The beastfolk explain they will use the coin better because it is barely enough for a room. They leave Light lying helpless on the floor and walk away. Other beastfolk walk past Light. Instead of helping him, they scold him for taking up unnecessary space on the streets. People suddenly surround Light, and an elf offers him a hand. He takes it without thinking, but backs up when he realizes it is an elf. He is scared that she will punish him for staining her hands, but she assures him that she wants to help him. She comforts him with a hug, and Light wonders why she is going through all this trouble to console him. The group of people reveal that they are part of the Conquered of Tribes, a party consisting of all 9 species created by the goddess. A beastfolk named Garou introduces himself to Light. The elf introduces herself as Sasha and introduces the Dragonude as Drago. She introduces Diablo as a demonkin, Oboro as an Onifolk, Nano as a dwarf, Sion as a dark elf, and Santor as a centaur. Nano reveals that the only species missing from their part is a human. Sion explains that they formed the group because they want to end racial discrimination and create a fair world for everyone. They invite Light to join their squad. Light is convinced they are fighting for a good cause, so he immediately accepts. Some days later, he follows them to explore the abyss. However, he is so incredibly inexperienced that he almost gets devoured. Drago manages to save him, but another serpent attacks him from behind. Sasha shoots the monster down with her arrow. She warns Light to be more careful. She explains that they are in the strongest dungeon, and a single attack from any monster will kill him immediately. Light feels like he is a burden, but Drago assures him that he is doing well because he likes the tea he makes for the party. They continue exploring the abyss and reach a dead end. Drago reveals that the spot is suitable for their activity. Light assumes that they are taking a break, so he begins to make tea. Drago reveals that he doesn't need to make tea. He announces that he is banishing him from their party. Light can't comprehend what is happening. Everyone backs up Garou, and they scold Light for being so useless that even his tea sucks. Light thinks they are playing a prank on him, and he tries to call them off, but they reveal that he is not useful enough for them to waste time on pranks. Light wonders why they're suddenly treating him so harshly when they were so nice to him a moment ago. Drago admits that they were only accommodating him because of his unique gift. He explains that they put up with him because their superiors noticed his gift and wanted them to investigate if he was a prodigy. Light doesn't understand what they are saying because it was obvious from the beginning that his ability was useless. He tries to ask them questions, but Drago stops Garou from explaining further because he has revealed too much information. Garou doesn't see the need to remain discreet because Light won't be speaking for much longer. Drago orders Garou to finish him off before the other adventurers come. Garou extends his claws and slashes at Light. The slash leaves a deep cut on Light's cheek, and it finally dawns on him that they aren't playing pranks on him. Light panics and begins to run for his life. Sasha declares that they won't let him escape and leave him at the mercy of the dungeon monsters. She fires an arrow at his leg and he trips. Garou continues his hunt for Light. He lands a devastating kick and continues punching down on Light. Drago calls him to order, but Garou scolds him for interfering in his fun. Sasha reminds him that their cover story will be that Light fell to an unexpected monster attack. She warns him to stop giving him injuries that will contradict their story. Garou concedes and decides to end Light's suffering. Light desperately begs them to stop and tries to crawl away with his last strength. Garou relishes how miserable Light looks, and he feels the urge to continue his hunt. Meanwhile, Light is cursing fate for his circumstances. He doesn't understand why he has to be so unfortunate. He screams out in anger because he wants to leave, and a teleportation trap appears. Garou tries to react before Light disappears, but he is too late. Light gets teleported to another part of the dungeon. He realizes that his chances of survival are still low because he is bound to encounter one of the many monsters in the dungeon. Light suddenly feels homesick. The friends he thought he had made in the city turned out to be his biggest enemies. He still doesn't understand why they chose to be so cruel to him when he always respected and appreciated them. He was happy for a while, but that life turned out to be a lie. He wonders why they were so curious about his ability that they risked everything to make sure he was not a magic master. Light vows never to forgive them for trying to kill him, even if they were just following orders from their superior. He makes a silent promise to get his revenge. This gives him purpose, and he realizes he can't die in the dungeon. He picks himself up and tries to get back on his feet, but he suddenly hears a growl behind him. He looks back to see a level 1000 chimera standing over him. Light thought such high-level monsters only existed in fairy tales. He realizes that he was unfortunately teleported to the deepest part of the dungeon. Light tries to think of a way out, but he can't come up with anything. The only thing he has at his disposal is his unlimited gacha ability, but it is so useless that he considers it a curse instead of a blessing. However, Light channels all his anger into his ability. He has had enough of the world's cruelty, so he decides to take control of his destiny. He summons a powerful maidservant, and she eliminates the chimera with a single strike. She walks back to Light and kneels before him. She cures his injuries with her magic and apologizes for touching him without permission because she couldn't bear to see him scarred by his wounds. Light realizes his injuries no longer hurt, so he springs back to his feet. The maid addresses him as her master and pledges unwavering loyalty to him for eternity. Light doesn't understand what is going on because he doesn't know who the maid is. She introduces herself as a level 9999 summon named May. She explains that she is a super rare card that came from his unlimited gacha ability. Light doesn't believe her because his gacha ability is only useful for summoning the most worthless things in the world. He can't comprehend how someone as incredible as May was summoned by his ability. May realizes that Light doesn't know the extent of his abilities. She takes permission from him to use her appraiser abilities to check the details of his unlimited gacha ability. She is certain his gift is not worthless, like he has been led to believe. Light grants her permission, and she activates her appraisal eye. She sees that a high-level concealment spell is hiding Light's true stats from ordinary eyes. Anyone who is below her level can't see his true stats, which explains why everyone else considered his ability useless. She informs Light that his ability isn't useless because he can roll his gacha an infinite number of times and summon cards of various rarities depending on his mana density. She explains that mana has its lowest density on the surface, which makes it impossible to summon a rare card like hers. However, the lowest floor of the dungeon is overflowing with dense mana, which increases the odds of summoning a rare card. May commends Light for traveling all the way to the deepest part of the dungeon so he can unleash the full potential of his ability and pull out a rare card like hers. May notes that Light isn't in a good state to face off against monsters, but she assures him of her protection till they return to the surface. Light admits that he didn't come to the deepest part of the dungeon on his own because he would have never made it alone. He reveals that he was initially traveling with a party, but they betrayed him after concluding that his ability wasn't useful to them. He recounts how his fake friends slashed him and shot him with arrows. They mocked him for having a useless gift and ending up as a pathetic servant. All Light wanted to do was make a living so he could provide for his family. He can't understand why the other species treated him so horribly just because he is human. Light feels so hurt because he genuinely believed their promise to end racial discrimination and create a fair world where all species can thrive. He was looking forward to helping them achieve their dreams so his family wouldn't have to keep looking over their shoulders, but it was all a lie. Light gets emotional and his knees buckle. He falls to his hands and knees and swears that he will never let them get away with their betrayal. May consoles him and apologizes for all he has been put through in such a short time. She admits that she can never understand the depth of his suffering because she is just a summon, but she still sympathizes with him. She promises to lend him her power as he takes revenge on everyone who hurt him. She asks him to give the order, and she swears to bring him the heads of everyone. Light orders her to stand down, but May insists because she doesn't think they deserve mercy. Light explains that he isn't considering having mercy on them. He realized that he only had faith in them and ended up in his current predicament because he was weak and easily exploited. He reveals that he wants to get strong enough so he can carry out his revenge with his hand and get the maximum satisfaction instead of relying on a maid to do the dirty work. He vows to make them suffer for how they treated him. He turns back to May because he is certain she will laugh at his pledge. Instead, she promises to help him become strong enough to enact his revenge any way he wants. She reveals that she has complete faith in his abilities because she is the only one who knows what he can truly do. May's assurance gives Light confidence, and he thanks her for having his back. He rolls his unlimited gacha again as he begins to create a kingdom that will make him strong enough to carry out his righteous vengeance. 3 years later, Light has finished building his kingdom in the lowest level of the dungeon floor. He walks down to his throne as his legion of maids bow to him to acknowledge his presence. He commends them for their good work, and they begin to blush. They sing his praises and fancy their chances at walking by his side just like May. May is tired of their noise and asks for Light's permission to shut them up, but Light refuses because he is enjoying the extra attention. Light heads to the city and greets his citizens. They respond to his greeting, and the vendors invite him into their shops to try out their wares. Light promises to try them next time. Another citizen informs him that they are running low on snacks, so he promises to relay the information to the administrator to make provisions. May promises to get the problem sorted as quick as possible. Light considers revising the whole system of his kingdom because it has grown exponentially these past 3 years, and the resources available can hardly care for the population. He wonders what the other members of the quartet are up to. May informs him that Aoyuki is scouting the upper perimeters of the abyss and making a map of its structure. May is worried about her because she is so young, but Light is certain she can take care of herself around the monsters because she is an expert tamer. He wonders if Ellie has been making progress in her mission, and May informs him that she is hard at work developing new magic to suit his plans of vengeance. Light is satisfied with this news. He wonders what Nazuna is up to, and May reveals that she is on her normal routine of patrolling the castle grounds. Light returns to the castle and heads to his throne room, but he finds Jack waiting for him at the door. Jack addresses Light so casually that May gets pissed off and scolds him for his insolence. Light waves it off because he sees Jack as his older brother. He informs May that he is going to train with Jack, and they head off to a secluded floor of the abyss. Light informs Jack that he won't be holding back, and Jack warns him to expect the same treatment. Light charges at Jack and lands a devastating punch that pushes him back. Jack is surprised by how much strength Light is putting into their duel, as he realizes that he only survived because of his iron body. He teases him to hold back a little because his punch power would have killed a normal person. Light reminds him that he's not holding back, so Jack decides to match his energy. Meanwhile, Nazuna continues patrolling the castle and stumbles on a group of maids cleaning the castle grounds. They greet her and compliment her dedication to her work, but Nazuna waves off their compliments because she is just doing what Light asked her to do. The maids are curious about the part of the castle she will be patrolling next, and Nazuna admits that she doesn't know yet. She wonders why they are suddenly so interested in her patrol route, and the maids admit that they need her to gain access to a top secret spot that is off limits to them. Nazuna wonders what spot they are talking about, and the maids confess that they need access to Light's bedroom, so she agrees to help them deliver a message. She takes them to Light's bedroom door and knocks. May opens the door and wonders why Nazuna came knocking on Light's bedroom door. Nazuna reveals that she is on patrol, so she came to patrol Light's bedroom. May orders her to patrol somewhere else, but Nazuna is curious about May's activities in Light's bedroom since he is out training. May denies any wrongdoing as she is only doing her duty as a maid, but Nazuna doesn't buy her story. She walks in to investigate and realizes that May was just rolling on Light's bed and sniffing his pillows. May reveals that that's her unique bed-making style. Nazuna doesn't sense any foul play, so she becomes curious about this skill that May just talked about. May refuses to give any details because it is a trade secret, and Nazuna envies her unique abilities as Light's first summon. May is secretly relieved that Nazuna is so stupid that she fell for her dumb excuse. Nazuna suddenly remembers why she came and pulls out the letter from the maids. She reads out that the maids want equal access to Light's bedroom because it is unfair to the rest of them that only May is allowed in there. They vote to put an end to her dictatorship. Nazuna doesn't fully understand the contents of the letter, but May assures her she will deal with it as the head of the maids. She gives Nazuna some silver as compensation for the inconvenience. Nazuna is so happy that she promises to help May if she ever needs any favors. She walks off delightfully to the nearest pastry shop to get some treats. She bumps into Aoyuki when she returns to the castle and wonders why she is not carrying out her mission to scout the forest around the abyss. Aoyuki speaks cat language, but Nazuna doesn't understand what she is saying. Aoyuki drops the act and reveals that she is done with the part of the map Light asked her to scout, so she came to deliver a status report. Nazuna scolds her for wasting her time with her fake cat language and walks off to return to her patrol. She goes into the throne room to make sure it is secure. She climbs onto Light's chair and rubs her face against it so she can feel some of his essence. She misses notices his presence because she hasn't seen him in a very long time. A part of the chair suddenly breaks and Nazuna panics. She picks up the broken piece and runs out of the room at the speed of light before anyone witnesses her vandalism. Back in the training floor, Jack and Light continue going at it. Jack advises Light to end the session and go take a bath because he has done very well. Light agrees and they head to the bath. Jack commends Light for turning his body into a lethal weapon, but Light reveals that he couldn't have done it without his help. Jack is certain that only a handful of people on the surface can match his abilities with the progress he has made. He cautions Light to be careful because there are still people there who are stronger than him. Light promises not to let his guard down until he carries out his revenge on the people who hurt him. Meanwhile, May calls a meeting with the other maids in the castle. She glares at them when they enter because she is certain they know why she called them, but they feign ignorance. May reads out their demands to them, and they immediately apologize. She demands an explanation, and the maids point out that they were just trying to lighten her workload because they figured she was too busy with other things. May points out that their intention doesn't match the tone they used in the letter. She is also disappointed in them for having Nazuna deliver the letter instead of making their demands to her face. The maids begin to argue amongst themselves. May is exhausted by their act. She walks back to her desk and denies their demands. She assigns them to cleaning the hallway of the throne room with their hands from that day forward. The maids protest, but May pays no attention to them. She points out that she will be heading to the surface with Light in a few days, so she expects them to behave at their best in her absence. The maids hang their heads low and they promise to do better. Outside the castle, Nazuna spots a gauntlet in a pawn shop. She admires it so much that she wishes she could get her hands on it, but she doesn't have enough money. Ellie bumps into her and teases her for window shopping for candy, but Nazuna points out that she is actually interested in the gauntlet. She wonders what Ellie is doing back at the kingdom, because she was supposed to be overseeing a construction project. Ellie reveals that things are going so smoothly that she has enough time on her hands to come back for a brief vacation. She scolds Nazuna for being so dumb that she couldn't figure that out. Nazuna refuses to be called a dumb piece of garbage because she knows all her times tables. She begins reciting the 1 times table, but she can't even get it right. Ellie mocks her for having the IQ of a star, and Nazuna responds with a comeback. Ellie reminds Nazuna that she is not as important to Light because she isn't part of his core plan for revenge. Nazuna points out that she is out patrolling on his orders, but Ellie reveals that it is nothing compared to the tea she had with him while he described the progress of their plans. She hopes to spend another evening alone with Light so they can get more intimate. Nazuna gets jealous because she has never had tea with Light. Ellie is surprised that Nazuna is so dumb that she is only jealous she didn't get to have tea with Light. Nazuna thinks for a minute and points out that Ellie sucks at close quarters combat, despite excelling at magic. She offers her services whenever she is in trouble, and Ellie can't believe that Nazuna made such an offer. Nazuna doesn't understand what she is talking about, so Ellie decides to accept her offer with a hint of sarcasm. Nazuna doesn't sense this, and she walks off to continue her patrol with an air of authority because she thinks she won the battle of words. Back at the castle, the junior maids return to their quarters and protest about May's decision because they don't think they deserve to be punished. They consider going over her to report the issue to Light, but they decide against it because May will always have his favor. They decide to accept their fate because they are powerless, but they regret not getting a chance to clean Light's room. They still don't understand why May won't let them clean Light's room despite her tight schedule. They begin to think about it, and they recall that May was Light's first summon. He didn't summon Aoyuki, who was the second summon, until 3 months later. They conclude that they became close during their time alone in the dungeon. Their jealousy goes up another level because they would have loved to be in such a situation with Light. They decide to channel their jealousy into a powerful curse and test it out to see if it would get rid of May. May walks in on them, and the maids try to hide their hostility. They wonder what May is doing around their quarters, and she reveals that she was heading out for a mission when she overheard the insults directed at her. She walks up to them and asks for an explanation for the chanting of the death curse. The maids deny any wrongdoing because they would never do anything to harm her after swearing loyalty to her. They always looked up to her as their role model and enjoyed working with her. May doesn't fall for their lies because it doesn't explain the curse chant to cause her death. The maids drop the act. They admit that they were jealous of her because she was the first one to get summoned by Light, and they spent so much time together. May reveals that after she was summoned, Light buried himself in mana books and martial arts practice to hone his skills before he summoned Aoyuki. She points out that they never had the time to do any inappropriate things, like the fantasies they have in their heads. May reveals that she stopped by their quarters because she felt like she was too hard on them, and her punishment was unreasonable, but they have just given her justification for it. She decides to increase their punishment by assigning them to clean the throne room as well. The maids try to protest because they won't have time to complete the task, but May points out that they can use the free time they were wasting instinct to cast a curse on her. The maids realize that they have no choice but to carry out her orders. They head to the throne room and begin cleaning, but as they clean the throne, the broken piece falls off. She goes to sleep making a wish to bump into him the next day. The following day, Light walks down the hallway and opens the door to the training floor. He finds Nazuna arguing with Ellie while Aoyuki keeps to herself. He greets them and they immediately drop their argument and rush over to greet him. Ellie tries to invite him to a secluded place so they can get intimate, but Light waves her off because he has more important things to attend to. A hellhound suddenly appears and interrupts their conversation. Light can't help but tremble because he still feels like he is helpless, just like the first time he encountered a hellhound. The ladies get so pissed off by the interruption that their bloodlust gets cranked up to the max. The hellhound succumbs to their aura, so he asks them to stand down. He walks over to the hellhound and apologizes on behalf of his summons for scaring him. Nazuna wonders what he called them out to talk about, and Light reveals that it is time to put their plan in motion, because May informed him that his prey has fallen for his bait. Light is eager to serve his first dish of revenge after carefully planning it out for 3 years. The crowd, made up of beast folk, cheers loudly for Garu, the wolfman. He waves back at them, but inside he feels proud and smug, thinking they should keep praising him as he walks through the town. While walking, Garu sees a boy near a trash can. He looks down on the boy, thinking he's worthless, then knocks him to the ground, spits on him, and walks away. His henchmen follow, cursing at the boy as well. Later, Garu sits in a bar with his henchmen. They admire everything he does, even the way he drinks. They keep refilling his cup. Garu tells them to order anything they want, bragging that he has plenty of money now. One henchman praises him, saying he's a hero to people like them. They all remember how he rose from being a poor orphan in the slums to becoming the soon-to-be pack leader, and they find his story inspiring. Another henchman adds that they're about to become the unofficial leaders of the wolf tribe. Garu responds that it's not easy. It takes learning how to use the natural instincts beast folk are born with in clever ways. The others keep praising him, saying he's even more impressive than the Dragonutes. Garu replies that it all comes down to the nose. Smell is the real power. He explains that knowing how to tell good jobs from bad ones by scent is how he got the big opportunities. Another henchman brings up a job from 3 years ago involving the conquered of tribes. Garu quickly shuts it down, saying the Federation won't allow him to talk about it. The one who asked backs off and apologizes. Still, Garu thinks to himself that it was the easiest job he's ever done. All he had to do was kill a weak human boy they thought might be a maestro. That job made him rich and famous, but part of him still feels unsettled. They never found the boy, Light, after he teleported away. Garu is sure the kid didn't survive, but there's a small part of him that wonders which city the boy was trying to reach. He knows, though, that asking too many questions could lead to trouble, and he has no plans to ruin things by being curious. As they call for another round of drinks, a woman approaches the group and apologizes for interrupting. Garu walks through a dark, twisting cave alongside his group of werewolves. The path is narrow, rough, and damp, and their footsteps echo off the stone walls. A young woman walks with them, her breathing heavy, her steps shaky. She looks exhausted. Garu glances back at her with a sharp look and asks if she's doing okay. She forces a smile and says yes, telling them not to worry about her. Garu gives her a cold, sinister grin. Deep down, he hopes she can last just a little longer. After all, he and his men have already spent an entire month leading her through the twisting, dangerous parts of this dungeon. His thoughts drift back to the moment when she first came to find him. She asked if he was truly Garu, the former member of the Conquered of Tribes. He admitted it, curious about her reason for seeking him out, and asked what she wanted from him. She introduced herself as May, saying she lives in service to her master, Light. She told him she was his most loyal maid, and her words caught Garu completely off guard. May went on, saying she had been searching for Master Light's whereabouts for a long time. Garu immediately began to wonder how much she really knew. Then May revealed something even more shocking. She said Light was of noble blood. Garu almost laughs in disbelief. He even mutters under his breath, calling Light a little twerp, as if the idea of him being a noble is some kind of joke. May says she can't share details, so she hopes no one pushes her for more. Garu thinks the higher-ups must already know everything about Light, except his noble blood. Still, he feels a thrill. If May is telling the truth, this could mean a large amount of money. Even so, he doesn't fully trust her. May explains she's been searching for Light and only recently learned he joined an adventuring party. With that news came word that he died in the abyss. She wants to visit where he was last seen and asks Garu to escort her. To convince him, she offers 3 large gold bars. This makes Garu suspicious. Paying that much just for an escort feels off, maybe even like a trap. Still, he agrees, thinking she doesn't pose much danger. He tells himself he and Light were close friends, so he wants to help. As the future leader of the wolf tribe, he decides to bring his best warriors to explore the dangerous dungeon. May is thankful. Now, in the present, Guru glances at a breathless May. He keeps his thoughts to himself, already planning what to do once they reach their destination. Soon they arrive at the place where Light once fell. Guru explains they were ambushed by monsters. Light was badly wounded and then caught in a teleport trap. After that, he disappeared and they never saw him again. Guru tries to comfort May, saying he did everything he could, though his own men had already sealed off the only way out. May's expression suddenly changes. Her tone turns cold as she speaks about how her heart breaks for Light, dragged into this cruel part of the dungeon and betrayed by those closest to him. She says if she had arrived earlier, she would never have let him suffer, especially not the pain of being kicked and struck by arrows. Hearing this, Guru quickly jumps back, startled. May is still kneeling, but his instincts flare. He can't understand how she knows those details. Only the conquered of tribes and a handful of top officials from powerful nations ever learned the truth. Suspicion overwhelms him. He shouts at her, demanding to know who she really is, accusing her of being a spy from another tribe. But May responds coldly. Her loyalty, she says, belongs only to Light. And soon, she adds, they will see who is truly rotten when their insides are spilled on the floor. As she stares at them, a wild wind surges through the air. Guru feels something he never expected: fear. His body trembles as he realizes he may have underestimated her. Until now, he thought she was just a human. May stands, her form crackling with wild, shapeless energy. Her cold eyes glow with blue light. Guru's fear deepens. At that moment, he truly believes he is already dead. Then, from the shadows, a familiar voice echoes through the space. It's Light calmly telling May to stand down. She instantly obeys, recognizing his presence. Guru and his men are stunned as they turn to see a cloaked figure stepping forward. His werewolf soldiers assume the boy must have come with others. No one should be able to make it here alone. They look to Guru for orders, unsure what to do. But Guru is frozen. The cloaked boy pulls back his hood, and Guru stares in disbelief. It's Light, the one he believed was dead. His mind reels. Light stands there, smiling, and says he's back for revenge, with 3 years' worth of payback. Guru's men grow uneasy, asking what's going on. But Guru bursts into laughter. He mocks the idea that a level 15 human like Light could possibly face him. A level 150 warrior. He even thanks the gods for how foolish humans can be. He doesn't know how Light survived, but says Light made a fatal mistake by returning. Guru bares his fangs and declares that killing Light will guarantee his place as king of the beast folk. He isn't interested in explanations, doesn't care how Light lived or why May serves him. To him, it's just luck that Light escaped the abyss the first time. 2 werewolves charge at Light, expecting an easy kill. But before they can land a hit, May moves. In an instant, both attackers fall, defeated effortlessly by her swift, precise strikes. May warns that anyone threatening Light will lose their heads. Light thanks her, making her blush, and gently asks her to block the exit. She accepts, stating no one will escape. The flea sacks panic. They didn't understand what happened because May was too fast. Guru yells to stay calm, claiming May did a sneak attack, the only way an inferior race could beat them. Upon hearing those words, Light understands Guru hasn't changed at all. He's been convincing himself for years that humans are inferior, but Light asks if Guru never thought werewolves were the actual weak ones. Guru yells at him to stop joking because humans are just pathetic losers with small pools of mana. He calls Light trash and tells him to look closely at what real power looks like. He reveals his level is 158, but that doesn't impress Light. He knows levels achieved by each race are different, which is why everyone discriminates against humans. They have the lowest level cap. Guru agrees and claims his race is higher on the food chain, but Light mocks him. He wants Guru, someone from a superior race, to explain how 2 of his men are dead. Guru looks at his men's heads and believes Light used magic or some trick. He tells him to stop acting cocky and doesn't understand why Light's eyes are locked on him. In a split second, all flea sacks jump on Light to kill him, but he simply closes his eyes and beats them. Everyone is knocked to the ground and Light approaches Guru, asking if he's done already. The werewolf feels Light's eyes staring at him as if he's inferior. That feeling irritates him. He wants revenge and tries to get back up while calling Light a loser and claiming he's better than a simple human. He jumps back to get distance from Light and tears his shirt pocket to reveal a stone. He claims he will wipe that expression off Light's face and throws the stone to the ground. He calls a Magibeast Fenrir to appear, revealing a huge level 500 wolf beast. Guru claims this is his secret and most powerful weapon, which drives the praises of his followers. However, Light sighs, because this level 500 beast is still too weak. The werewolf is confused and thinks Light is so lost in fear that he became delusional, that he should begin begging for his life like he did 3 years ago. He mocks him, saying he wants Light to get on his knees and beg to be spared. However, Light simply tells this moron to bring it on because he won't leave his place. Guru gets annoyed and decides to wipe Light out of existence. He tells his Fenrir to cast Blazing Howl, creating a huge laser beam shot toward Light. The attack creates a huge blast, and Guru happily claims this is the power of an entire level 500 monster using all its mana. He claims this is more than enough to make human barbecue, but he's shocked to see Light is still standing there. The kid took no damage, and he mocks Guru for giving a fancy name to a skill that only kicks up dust. He clears himself up and asks if Guru has decided to stop acting silly, but the dog doesn't understand what's going on. The rest of the group is scared because Light managed to survive, and Guru finally realizes Light is strong enough to take a level 500 monster attack right to his face. Without waiting, Light smiles and says it's his turn now. He tells Guru he shouldn't name such a weak monster Fenrir because it gives people the wrong impression. He decides to show him the real deal and brings out a level 9000 ultra rare card. The card shines and summons the primal god wolf Fenrir. Guru and his comrades are shocked, but Light doesn't waste time and tells his Fenrir to kill the fake one. The god Fenrir lets out a cold breeze and completely freezes the other monster before shattering it. Guru can't believe his eyes and falls flat to the ground. Everyone is confused. Guru can't believe Light has a monster strong enough to wipe out his Fenrir without even lifting a paw. However, Light mocks him, saying, not only does he control this beast, but he could have easily handled a level 500 beast by himself. Guru doesn't understand what Light means. Light pets the Fenrir like a good dog, and tells Guru to see for himself. Suddenly, Light's level shows up and Guru freaks out. He's level 9999. Everyone is confused and thinks it's a joke because humans should be level 100 at max. Guru claims Light is an imposter because his appearance hasn't changed in 3 years, and he hasn't grown up. However, Light reveals he's using the Bracelet of Youth to stop aging. He explains he only uses it to remind himself of all the pain, anger, and despair Guru and the rest made him feel back then. The wolf is too shocked but realizes this is not an imposter. This is the real Light. He finally accepts he's facing a monster and can't defeat Light in any possible way. He realizes if he doesn't do something, he will die. Without thinking twice, Guru makes a bold move. He gets on his knees and begs for forgiveness. He claims he never intended to hurt Light and was simply following orders from the Federation. He even tries to blame today's scheme on his group rather than himself. The group is shocked because Guru told them this would be easy money. The guy tries to bait Light with nostalgia, claiming they had good times together despite betraying him. He begs to be spared, but Light wants to ask questions first. Guru accepts and Light tells him to reveal everything about the Maestro thing. Guru doesn't give many answers and replies they told them to search for one. Light gets closer and asks why the government wants to find a Maestro. Guru doesn't know why, which makes Light ask why they tried to kill him if they knew he wasn't a Maestro. The dog also doesn't know the answer and seriously claims he knows nothing. Light decides to ask the rest, and everyone claims to have the answers he wants. However, May uses her threads to slice everyone into pieces, because her skill knows they're all lying. She calls it a death sentence for trying to deceive her master, which scares Guru even more. Light uses this chance to ask one final question. He wants to know if Guru believes Light could win if he launched a war against the surface world. Just to be sure, Light tells Guru to avoid lying because May's eye of truth can see everything. Guru begins to wet his pants and explains that given Light's power, he would have advantages right from the start. However, despite being high level, he's still just one person. He reveals various nations all over the world have stockpiled weapons, armor, and special items, which would give him a hard time in the long term. Light accepts the answer and reveals he thought the same thing. He wants to ask more questions, but first they need to teleport somewhere else. Guru is confused, but Light simply uses another card to teleport out. Upon opening his eyes, Guru is shocked by this place. Not only is it huge, but it's filled with soldiers, maids, and even dragons. He gets even more shocked to see Light walk to the throne, while everyone bows to him. He finally sits on the throne and tells everyone to stand up and reveal their status window. Guru can't understand what's going on. Everyone's level is insanely high. Common soldiers are level 1,500, with the strongest ones reaching level 9,999. Light claims he spent the last 3 years forming this army, and asks Guru the same question again. What are his chances of winning if he goes to war with every single nation in the surface world? Guru is too shocked to answer, but that gives Light the answer he was looking for. Despite being unable to talk, Guru realizes their actions not only created a monster, but they're also the cause the world is about to be destroyed. He thinks Light is the world of destruction and asks if he's trying to become a god. Light never thought about it, but he likes the sound of it. He knows someone is hiding the truth from him, but doesn't know why or what their goal is. For that reason, he will decide if he'll be an altruistic god or the demon lord himself. Because in the end, his gift can either grant blessings and fortunes, or drown everything in death and despair. Without thinking twice, he orders everyone to prepare to march to the surface. Light returns to his home and eagerly runs up the path to his house. He can't wait to meet his parents and siblings after years away. However, when he gets to the top of the valley overseeing his village, he finds it in ruins. He tries to walk up the path to get a better view, but the sight overwhelms him, and he falls to his knees. During the time he was absent, the village was ravaged by unknown forces. He spends 6 months checking through ruins and giving the dead proper burial. He feels bad that his village is now in ruins, but he's relieved because he never saw his siblings' bodies in the rubble. He holds on to the slight chance they may still be alive. Light finishes mourning for his parents. Gold urges him to get back into action because they've been away from their kingdom far too long. Namumu scolds him for being so obnoxious he can't read the room. Light needs to take things easy because he's grieving. Gold points out he's just trying to return to the comfort of his bed. He accuses Namumu of hypocrisy because he's sure she's eager to return too. Namumu points out that unlike him, she'll stick by Light even if she has to sleep at the peak of the coldest mountains without anything to shield her from the cold. Gold points out she misinterpreted his intention. He'd do that and more for Light if the situation demands it. He doesn't want Light camping out in the cold because it'll ruin his sleep and health in general. Namumu finally sees reason and agrees with him. Light cuts in and advises them not to worry about lodging. They should focus on gathering useful intel instead. He acknowledges their forces can overrun the world without breaking a sweat, but it'd be foolish to march into war without proper strategy. Light theorizes his home was invaded because the Federation suspected he was a magic master. He orders them to get as much information as they can about the other nations and figure out what's so important about a magic master that makes destroying a village worth it. He vows to scorch the earth if he finds out the reason was so evil and selfish it cost so many people their lives. He puts on his fool's mask to disguise his appearance and takes flight with Gold and Namumu. Namumu addresses Light and wonders what they'll do when they arrive at Dagas. Gold reminds her to address him as Dark while they're on the surface, so the Federation doesn't figure out their plans. Namumu apologizes for her oversight. Light accepts her apology and reveals he's going to register as an adventurer named Dark in the guild and raise his rank by doing quests. When his rank is high enough, he plans to get information from other high-level adventurers. Namumu spots Dagas over the horizon. Light orders them to return to the ground so they don't cause a stir. As they walk through the forest, they stumble on a coach being robbed by dwarf bandits. The bandits order them to hand over their fancy belongings. Colonel pleads with them not to harm his son. The leader dwarf suddenly spots something shiny from the corner of his eye. He turns around to see Gold standing out in the open and orders him to come over. Light gives Gold and Namumu the order to restrain the dwarves. They make quick work of them. Colonel offers to give them a ride as payment for saving their lives. He assumes they're going to Dagas because they want to explore the dungeon as a party of adventurers. Light explains they're not adventurers yet, but they're going to the town to register as one. Colonel admits they're going to the right place because Dagas is the border between the human kingdom and the elven queendom, which makes it a haven for the best dungeons. The town gets a lot of visitors, especially humans, who bring wealth into the town and keep his hotel business afloat. They arrive at the gate and Light asks Colonel to drop them off. Colonel is reluctant because he doesn't feel like he's done enough to pay them back. Light waves off his hesitation because he helped them with the location of the guild. Colonel offers to give them free accommodation at his hotel if they plan to stay the night. He leaves them at the gate, but his son points out it's unusual for newbies to be so strong. Colonel admits he has a good point and concludes that unique circumstances made them that strong. Light walks into the city with Gold and Namumu, who take in the sights because this is their first time on the surface. Gold notices there are a lot of stalls selling weapons. Light explains the city is home to many dwarfs who specialize in blacksmithing. He takes them to the guild. Namumu notices most of the aspiring adventurers are humans. A demon folk passes by some humans gathered around the quest board, and they hastily get out of his way. Light figures out humans are still treated as lesser species because of the humans' reaction to the demon. They head to the reception desk. The receptionist classifies Light as an F-rank adventurer. Namumu protests because Light should be nothing less than an S-rank adventurer. But the receptionist points out all adventurers have to start from F rank, regardless of their skills or class. Light apologizes to the receptionist for Namumu's attitude and agrees to register as an F-rank adventurer. They return to the streets. Namumu breaks down because she's disappointed in herself for screwing up so much that Light has to apologize for her. Light consoles her and urges her not to be too hard on herself, but Gold teases her for causing him so much trouble. They head to Colonel's hotel. His son leads them inside to meet Colonel at the reception. Light informs him they've come to make reservations, but points out he wants to make some special requests. He asks to rent the entire floor of the hotel for 1 month with complete privacy. He gives Colonel some coins and offers to give him more if the payment isn't enough. Colonel points out he can't take his money because he saved their lives. Light asks him to consider the payment one of his requests and insists he must accept it. Colonel realizes Light won't allow him to oblige his request for free, so he decides to accept his payment. He promises to arrange everything in strict accordance with his request. Light goes up to his room and casts his silent, magic jamming and detection spells to secure the top floor. He removes his mask and informs Gold and Namumu they can relax now, because they are safe from any magic item that could otherwise eavesdrop on them. Namumu doesn't feel at ease because she's worried about Light's safety. She points out he doesn't have to parade on the surface as an adventurer because he could get hurt. She's certain he could have remained in the safety of his kingdom in the abyss, and given them an order to carry out his instructions instead of risking his life to get his revenge. Light immediately cuts her off and questions her intentions because it looks like she's trying to interfere in his plan for revenge. Namumu clarifies she wasn't trying to do anything like that. Light approaches her with his anger overflowing through his mana. She immediately kneels to Light and apologizes for getting out of line. She asks him to forget she ever said anything. Gold bursts out laughing and Light's anger dissipates. Gold explains there are some scores that need to be settled personally, which is why Light has to carry out his revenge with his hands without relying on his henchmen. Light sees that Namumu is scared, so he apologizes for scaring her. He acknowledges she only made such suggestions because she's scared for his safety. Namumu insists she must take another pledge of allegiance because she's fallen way out of line. Light reluctantly agrees. Light never liked that a kiss to the foot was used as a gesture of respect to show allegiance. Gold cuts in and teases Namumu for having such a weird kink. Namumu points out it's common practice for all of them when swearing allegiance to Light, but Gold insists she's just using it as an excuse to live out her wild fantasies. The next day, the city is so lively that Light can't help but look forward to exploring the dungeon. They arrive at the dungeon but meet a long queue of adventurers waiting to explore it, so they get in line. Gold points out there are no elves in sight despite the dungeon being so close to their borders. Light assumes their absence is a result of the dispute between the Dwarf Kingdom and the Elven Queendom. Namumu commends Light's knowledge because he always has answers to the toughest questions. 3 people suddenly cut into the line of some adventurers in front of them. Namumu gets angry. Light assesses them and figures out the guy carrying the bag is the servant, while the middle guy is a decently trained fighter who still has many weaknesses. The front guy catches his eye because he looks like a seasoned fighter with a hefty weapon concealed on his back. The rookie adventurers who had their line cut wonder what to do, because they don't want to risk getting into a fight with people from another species. Light intervenes and calls out to the hooded fighter. He scolds him for cutting the line because it's wrong, but the fighter is angry that Light has the audacity to address him like that. Light points out he's only addressing him because he cut the line, but the fighter insists Light doesn't have the right to talk to him because he doesn't know who he is. Light admits he doesn't know who he is because he's hiding his identity behind a hood, but points out that if he's presumably a famous person, that's all the more reason why he shouldn't be cutting lines. Gold and Namumu back up Light and warn the fighter to go back to the start of the line. Kido is so angry he attempts to draw his sword, but the middleman stops him. He reminds him that causing a scene will ruin their plans, especially if he draws his sword because he's certain to cause great destruction. Kido restrains himself and walks back to the start of the line, but he promises to make Light pay for embarrassing him. The humans around Light commend him for standing up for them. They point out they've had enough of being treated like they don't exist, and they thank him for speaking up against their discrimination. One of the rookies steps up to thank Light and explains they were too scared to say anything because they were scared of starting a fight they couldn't finish. Light waves off their thanks because his reaction also served his interest since he's behind them. One of the rookies allows his intrusive thought to get the better of him and wonders aloud if Gold's armor is made of gold. The others scold him for being so dumb, but he insists on an answer because he knows they're curious as well. Gold is about to answer, but Namumu cuts him off and informs the kids his armor is fake because it's pointless to make armor out of something as light as gold. The rookies apologize for their friend's curiosity, but Light explains Gold chose to wear gold armor to make him the perfect example of a knight in shining armor. The lead rookie wonders if it's their first time adventuring in the dungeon. Light admits it is. He wonders how the lead could tell. The lead explains people usually camp in the dungeon because it's so vast. He figured out it's their first time because they don't have camping supplies like the other adventurers who have explored the dungeon before. Light thanks them for the information, but the rookies feel bad they couldn't help them out more. The dungeon master calls in the rookie party, and they say goodbye to Light before heading in. Light realizes they're so used to having an item box for storage that they don't bother about supplies. Nemumu suggests they carry fake luggage next time so they look the part and don't give the impression they're overpowered. The Dungeon Master calls in Light's party, and they head inside. Light points out this is the first time he's entering another dungeon besides the Abyss. He's curious about how dungeons work because each of them has a different structure. Light points out they need to scan the core of each dungeon to figure out the secret behind it, but even Ellie couldn't manage to pull it off. He explains dungeons are filled with mana that gets stronger the deeper it goes. This creates the variety of traps and monsters in different dungeons, making the possibilities endless. They walk out on a ledge with a view of the dungeon. Light acknowledges dungeons are in a world of their own. Light casts flight and conceal magic, and they begin flying over the vast expanse of land. He also uses clairvoyance to find the shortest route to the next floor. Gold praises him for his IQ. However, he points out their exploration will be boring, because they won't get the full experience of the dungeon. Meanwhile, Quito enters the dungeon and immediately draws his sword. He lets out his anger on some unfortunate monsters who approach him. He's angry at Light's insolence to talk down on a white knight from the Elven Kingdom, who has the blood of a maestro. Yanok calms Quito down and reminds him they're there for the troll on the 3rd floor. He advises him to shelve his anger and focus on their objective, but Quito shuts him up because he's the reason Light got away so easily after insulting him. Quito also blames his low level for his predicament. Yannick points out he's already at the maximum level of elves, so there's nothing he can do about it. Quito ignores Yannick's explanation and vows to get strong enough to be worthy of his title as a legendary hero, so he can crush whoever gets in his way. Yannick sympathizes with Quito because he understands how he feels. He was exiled from the Elven Kingdom because of his unusual research, but he's determined to honor his alliance with Quito and put his research to good use by helping him level up. However, Quito secretly holds a grudge against Yannick and plans to dispose of him after using him to get what he wants. Later that day, Light and his party defeat some trolls on the 3rd floor. He decides to call it a day after collecting their magic drops as evidence for the guild. They begin to fly back, but Light notices the rookie party surrounded by goblins. Gold figures out the 3 rookies standing together are fighters while the rookie at the back is their healer. He's certain they won't have problems. Light spots another threat the rookie party didn't notice. The rookie party disposes of the goblins, but Light takes down a bush snake creeping up behind them. He warns them never to let their guard down even if the area looks safe. The rookies thank him for saving them, but Nemumu suddenly senses they have company. Great bush wolves suddenly burst out of the forest. The rookies are surprised because they're supposed to live deep in the forest. The rookies decide to retreat because they can't fight the wolves, but Light orders them to stand their ground because they're not a threat. The wolves run past them. The rookies wonder what the threat is. A mutated mantis emerges from the forest behind the wolves and faces off against them.